Hello again. I'm just going to talk to you a little bit more about the methodology that sits behind skills based. I introduced this a little in the welcome, but I want to talk to you a little bit more about what it actually means. And so being skills based can be interpreted in quite a few different ways, I guess, and there's quite a lot of writing on what it means. And you'll find in the resources for this section that we've provided, I think, 12 articles that talk to you more about skills, being skills based and the methodology. What it means to me when I unpack it all is it's about skills at the atomic level of the organization. So historically, organizations have looked at how they operate on the basis of role and responsibility. And that hasn't really worked all that well. And it doesn't work so well, especially these days, because of the particular skills that people need in terms of completing their role, and also the changing nature of skills and the demands, especially on technical skills and how quickly they're emerging. And so COVID's a really good example of that. And if you think about COVID and the implication around digital skills, and especially in terms of online collaboration, a lot of people who didn't previously have any experience in that, and if you think about, say, lawyers who were traditionally running everything they were doing face-to-face and aren't all that great at adapting to technology, I know that because of some of the other projects I'm involved with, they suddenly had to adopt digital collaboration. And I think everyone would have seen the meme about the lawyer who ended up with a cat face talking to the judge. His skills were not quite up to scratch, maybe. But it evidences and just example of how and why skills and being able to actually manage skills and the urgency of skills is so important. And so being skills-based is about thinking of skills in a very transactional way and thinking of them at an atomic level. And so historically, organizations have focused very much on finance, and they've had finance systems, and they've done that, and they've managed every last cent, and then they know where it's going, where it's been, where it's going to go. And yet they talk about the importance of people and people being their greatest asset and everything else. But they don't actually do anything to manage that really important asset in terms of what the skills of those people are, or they haven't historically. But a lot of organizations are waking up to being skills-based, and that being competitive in the next decade and the decades that follow will be about talent and skill. And that's what skills-based does. And that's what being a skills-based business is all about, in my opinion. It's about thinking of it and adapting and operating where skills are a currency. They're at the heart of the business. They are instrumental then in forming decisions about how the business operates and what the business is going to do. And so if you look at the various different use cases you often see within businesses that use skills-based, they're often looking at particular things like recruitment. They're looking at team formation. They're looking at organizational learning and career path planning and staff progression. So they're typically the sort of hotspots that where a skills-based approach manifests itself in its most obvious way. But it permeates more widely than that. But that's where it really comes home to roost, because it's very much about people, and they're very much sort of people-focused things that organizations are doing. And so you think about people, and you're thinking about the skills of those people, and then you're thinking about groups of people and teams, and you're thinking about the skills of those teams. And not surprisingly, that's what skills-based does. And as I said in the opening, where I incorrectly got it wrong, I will admit to that. Everyone can make a mistake. Our strapline is understand, measure, act, and not observe, measure, act, as I previously said. It's understand, measure, act. And skills-based does that extremely well. And so what it does is first allow you as an organization to understand what the skills are that are important to you, and then to measure those, and then to do something about it. And as you'll go through from what it means to be skills-based to actually the next section, which is more about the product and the platform, what skills-based is in terms of functionality, you'll then see that there's a whole bunch of great tools that we've built, which are all about helping organizations with those various different challenges they have. And so it's things like we provide a heat map, and that shows you gaps, and it shows you strengths at a team, at a departmental, at an organizational level, and then you can recruit to deal with that, or you can form teams to combat that. We have a career tool, which helps people to work out what skills they have, but also what skills they might need in order to progress or in order to target a particular role that they want. We provide a people finder, and the people finder is a great tool. It's actually, whenever I talk to a customer, they always mention the people finder. It's a really simple tool, but it's fantastic in terms of what it does, because it, in a really simple way, it helps you can go and find a skill. So give me someone who has a skill in C# at this particular level, and I want to form a team around that, or I want a few people with that skill. And I want to link that to location, or I link it to other skills, and it's really cool. It's a very, very good tool. And then the final one that I'll reference is the training module, which really brings skills-based to life in terms of intervention. And so what this training module does is it allows you to link learning, digital learning, and that could be from any source. It could be Google, YouTube, it could be your own in-house learning management system, to a skill level. And so you can attach a certain intervention, so it could be that piece of training with that skill level. And so then someone who wants to attain that skill level can go and do that piece of training and then cycle through the skill assessment component. And so that's really powerful. And more of our customers are starting to adapt to that sort of a model and use that, because it actually speaks to being able to do something as opposed to the potential to do something, which is often a byproduct of knowledge. So knowledge is great, but doesn't turn into a skill in and of itself. So just because you've theoretically maybe done some training doesn't mean you're any more skilled. And so being skills-based is actually about focusing on the skill, not just the knowledge. And so just to finish off, what I'm going to show you, which brings this to life a little bit, because it looks at the problem as articulated by a customer. So I'm just going to show you a slide. So just bear with me a minute while I share my screen with you. So this is a slide from a customer deployment recently that was forwarded to me. And this is how a customer is articulating the problem that they have and why they've gone and decided that skills-based is for them, and being a skills-based business is important to how they grow and how they do their thing. And so they define the problem in terms of three components. So baseline inventory of technical capabilities that validates team depth and expertise. The second is identification of skill and capability gaps that put new service opportunities at risk. And the third is define skill development paths for personal and professional growth. And what they admit to is we don't do that today. And a skills-based business does those things. So being able to understand, measure, and act is what a skills-based business does about skills. And so that's just, I think, a really illuminating artifact from one of our customers, which speaks a little bit more and in practical terms to what organizations are doing and why they're using skills-based. So anyway, welcome to the skills methodology section of the Foundation Skills Onboarding Guide. Hope you enjoy it. There's an assessment to complete later, which you'll see, and good luck with it.